Welcome to the Simon Racing Report. It's time for sim racing analysis. It's been half a year, I think, since the last one. I don't even know what I call these anymore. Sim racing tips, analysis, a bit of both. I'm going to talk about Max Verstappen's incredible world record lap in the Dallara Formula 3 around Road Atlanta. Such a talented driver. It was worth making an entire analysis video on it, and such a whopping lap, which I was lucky enough to be in the same server at the same time. It was a practice session. Max lapping away, of course, as well, along with Atze Kerkhof, who we know is one of the greatest sim racers of all time. And Atze, I think Max and Atze met when Max was in his first season of Formula 3 at Van Amersfoort, where I don't know what Atze, I don't even know if he's still there, but he was a sim racing coach or is a simulator driver. I'm not sure, but that may be the truth. I might need to ask Dom, Dom Doohan, boss of Team Redline, see what the true story is. But anyway, they've known each other since, and we've seen them lapping away every now and then. We've seen some videos online of Max and Atze always battling, which is always good, having some sort of pickup games sort of battles. I don't really know what the word is for sim racing, but I guess that's the equivalent. And also in the server at the same time is Shane van Gisbergen, supercars driver, and everyone knows Shane. He's been on iRacing for quite some time. Anyway, let's get to before the lap, actually. We'll get to the lap soon, but just last quick aside, the context of why I'm recording this is technically, for those that don't know me, the last time I sim raced properly was the end of 2015. And I had one of those Mika Hakkinen sabbaticals where I never really said I was retired, and I sort of am. And I think Mika Hakkinen's been retired for like 15 years, but he's never said it. So I was planning to come back around 2016, and 3.5 years later, here I am. So I haven't come back since. I think I've done about 50 hours of sim racing in 3.5 years, which is like that's nothing compared to, I could have probably completed 50 hours of testing in about 2 weeks leading up to a race, back when I was racing full time. Never driven this car, never driven this track. I'm quite inexperienced with driving an iRacing too, so it was quite a bit of fun. Getting back into the thick of things. I've been testing for a few days already, running the default setup. So just keep that in context as well when I talk about a few things around this track. So I found with default setup and qualifying times, I was around 1.2 seconds off Max. Very demoralizing, but at the same time, quite promising because the default set is so bad to drive in this car. Like I've heard the public complain about it when the car was first released. Not sure if it's still the same, but certainly with me, I have no confidence in the default set. Every lap is so variable. But the fact I'm 1.2 seconds off the world record time that Max set with the default shows that I'm actually pretty proud of where I am at the same time, even though I'm so far off the pace. But it's also good having Atze out there on the racetrack, because he's someone I remember I was at least a couple, maybe 2-3 tenths slower than when I was at my best 4 years ago. So it's nice to know where I should be at. I know with a few setup changes already today, I've gained about 3 tenths. So I'm about 9 tenths off of Max's time, and those were only like wing adjustments, brake adjustments, some minor ride height adjustments too. So 3 tenths was a pretty good gain, considering I haven't touched many camber settings or anything else. So it's going to be a good lap to watch here. We're going to begin at the final chicane, which is turn 10 at Road Atlanta. And I think that's Atze ahead. It is. Now, the one thing you want here is I'm going to talk about this corner later on towards the end of the real lap. This is obviously the out lap, but Max gets, well, the lap pretty much begins here. You need to plant the throttle, get all the speed you can. So listen to Max. He's going to go full throttle soon. The lap begins at that chicane. Goes very wide here. Maximize the track distance, gain as much speed as possible, and then we begin the lap. So, turn 1. Before I play it through, it's a challenge for those who first pick up the car. and this circuit as well, both the combination. After a while, it's pretty uneventful. It's not even a corner once you get used to it. You need a very wide entry, which you can already see. Max is, let me get my fancy pen tool out. That's never going to be in retirement. Max is all the way out wide here to the extreme. You also want to unwind the steering as you get through the corner. You don't want to hear the tires squeal. That's the main thing. And when you listen to Max here, the tires won't squeal too much, and he's also carrying a lot of minimum speed through the corner, which is very important. And once more, the curbs are a no-go. You do not want to touch the curbs here. There is absolutely no setup adjustment. I can promise that when I work on this setup in the next day or two, there is nothing that's going to be beneficial by going over the curbs. So let's have a listen one more time. How about that? The tire squeal right at the end. If I go to cockpit cam, it's almost nothing. Like all you hear is basically at the end when the car straightens. So that's an absolute perfect first corner. Coming up is turns 2 and 3. Probably the most difficult corner out there on the circuit. If I show the cockpit view, so I'm going to play the whole corner through. It's going to be a left-right-hander. That's what I see when I drive. And there is nothing, I mean, look, if I remove this, I can't raise this seat anymore. Like, I'm going to basically be out of the car. It's essentially a blind corner. You're pretty much stuffed through here. The one thing I use as a marker is, see this little Marshall outpost, whatever the hell it is. I don't know, a tent. I don't even know what that is, but a little shanty town over here. Look at that little green shanty with the roof, and that's when you should start to begin to turn in. You can see the track starts to angle about this point. Here we go. Track starting the curb. Max is phenomenal through here. He's high speed. Look what he does over the curbs. I mean, that's crazy. All I've been seeing is most of the community's been driving their right wheels, which Max has here, avoiding the curb. And Max already, through this one corner alone, I would guess, I haven't put our laps side by side, both his and mine, but I would guess it's around 3/10 gain through this one corner alone, just by doing that. This setup is phenomenal, but it's a lot of talent at the same time. He's just able to straighten the car and hit that turning point perfectly. Look how his left wheels are perfect on that left curb, even though it's blind. He's just absolutely nailed this section. And the most important thing is he's kept the revs high. You want to take this corner in 4th gear, but he's basically kept the revs high, and I mean, any more he would have been off into the grass. So that's as best as you can do it right there. That's absolutely nailed through that turns 2-3 complex. Next corner, turn 4. Look how blind that is again. So if I take it back to earlier, this little ad board to the left-hand side. I'm going to circle this again. Once that once that's out of vision, that's when you should begin to turn in. And basically no tire squeal. So you know you're not really losing time. You're not scrubbing off speed from understeer or a sharp turn in. Absolutely perfect through there. All right, the infamous turn 5. The second most difficult corner out there on the circuit, in my opinion. The troubles with this is that look at what a lot of people see from the cockpit. So what a lot of people see is obviously this view, but that's not the line you should take into the corner. So what I'm saying is, if I go back to chase cam, a lot of people will begin the lap and start to brake in this line and then turn in. Max, instead, I don't know how to change color, but Max instead is taking that line over there. If you have a look, so let's play it through and you'll see. See how he's hitting this late part of the curb, which you can't see? That's where you want your right wheels aligned, not over here. And that just widens the entry so much better. And then through the corner as well. Oh, actually, one thing I should mention is it is super bumpy. And again, his setup just takes the bump so well, which is something I need to work on because his default set is absolute shit. But I mean, the car oscillates. There's a minor bump here just in the braking zone. You can see when the car dips. It really just kills your lap every now and then. Here's a... Oh, I'm not trying to go to that camera angle. Okay, where am I trying to go to? Chase. Here we go. You want to hit a late apex through this corner. So don't drive a tight angle. What you see is a lot of people will go, oh, I need to hit this first apex over here. This is the apex I need to hit. Nope. If you think about the line... Apologies, I'm very bad with these camera controls on iRacing. You want to hit this little late apex here because there is a minor straight towards the exit of this corner, so you need a good run out of here. And Max hits that late apex perfectly. So it's sort of a blind type of apex, but you can trust your turning point and the corner's cambered as well, that you should be able to hit that. I have seen one lap. Now, this is Max's world record lap. I don't know if it's beaten, by the way, but I'm pretty sure it might still be the world record. There is one lap where Max, out on the exit, ended up going completely wide out here, and you won't receive an off-track, so that's legal. You're allowed to do that. But even in the telemetry and even in the car, you can feel it. You lose so much speed. The car's bouncing all over the place and oscillating. It's so difficult to control. I think this is the better line to take right now. And I think Max has nailed that perfectly. So it's such a good lap right now from him. And I think that's pretty much... Let me look at my notes. Have I missed anything? Oh, no, that's it. So basically the last thing I was going to say was you don't want to go off too violently into this section. It's that late apex you want to hit. Bang, stay on the racetrack. I'd prefer this over any other line going out here. But you do have a safety point because there are very minimal runoffs at this racetrack. And this, if anything, is considered a runoff. Might as well use it every now and then. Turn 6-7. Now, that is Shane Van Gisbergen up ahead, I think. Yeah, it is. I recognize the car. Turn 6-7. So interesting now. Look at turn 6, this right-hander. Is there an exit? Nope. So you just want to throw the car into the corner. So all you're thinking about here is throwing the car into the corner, carrying as much speed through the apex, trail braking, all those kinds of things. Turn 7's the corner where you don't want to focus on entry. It's all about the exit. Because after this corner, there's pretty much a 20-second full throttle zone coming up ahead, or something along those lines. The tough part about trail braking is that I don't know if it's the default set or iRacing, but it is so difficult to trail brake, at least in my car, I found. So essentially the car snaps, you lose control, you end up in the barriers over towards the end. But that's something I'm going to work on. I'll see if it's a setup issue or if maybe it's just a talent issue with me. It's probably a little bit of both. I am breaking a fundamental rule of driving, which is sort of not braking in a straight line, which Max does pretty well here. Brakes in a straight line, downshifts from 6th to 4th gear, carries an immense amount of speed. So look at his minimum speed here down at the bottom left corner. This is something that people would want to target if you're trying to replicate this lap and improve at Road Atlanta in the F3. So let's have a look through his minimum speed. 180 kilometers an hour. Incredible. So if you're going 176, which you might think, oh, that's not that much. There's at least half a tenth to a tenth in that. Like, it is that much. So you need to be as lights out as possible through here. So downshifts to 4th. And then downshifts to 2nd gear. So difficult braking zone for turn 7, because if I flick to the cockpit cam, there's a brake marker here for the inside for turn 6. I use this tire bundle over here as my brake marker, but I brake a little bit before that. But then look at turn 7. There's hardly a brake marker at all. I mean, you can use that little shanty town to the right. Or whatever. What are those called? Can someone tell me? Are those Marshall posts or something? I have no idea. It's like a gazebo in the middle of nowhere. But downshifts the second through here. Late apex again. And you want the perfect exit through here. This is so critical. So Max, again, doesn't touch the inside curbs. Hits this little outside radius. Oh, geez, that's the most. That is the worst possible line I could have drawn. Oh, God. That's the line you want to hit. Great run out of here. And look, this is what I'm annoyed about. Just look how unsettled the car is on the curbs. It doesn't lose like any speed at all. That's why I'm so pissed with this default setup, which is so bad. Shane Van Gisbergen up ahead, giving him about a 10th advantage here on the straight. With the slipstream. Car maxes out at 249 kilometers an hour. So your braking point is, and there's a lack of brake markers. Like you can't really use some hot chick you find in the crowd because she may change lap after lap. Who knows? The brake markers around about here, depending on how good your braking skills are. I know I'm a very late braker, so I doubt if you're braking. Like sometimes I managed once to enter the corner through here, but that was a bit of a fluke. So around that area. Max maxes out, no pun intended, at 249 kilometers an hour. The problem with this setup, and can I quickly explain, a lot of people make mistakes is, I like to set up my wings first, for example, out on the racetrack. So I get my rear wing set up, then my front wing balanced, and I get my aerodynamics sorted. But then as my ride heights improve, as I improve managing bumps, you get a better run out of turn 7. Heading towards turn 10 here, this final chicane. And then what happens is because you get a better run out of there, the car has more downforce and less drag with the ride heights, you end up becoming faster on the straights. So you can run less wings and still achieve the same top speeds. So that's what a lot of people don't consider is once you master the wings, master the ride heights, and then revisit your aerodynamics again. So maybe right now, Max, obviously, we don't know if he maxes out without a draft, without a slipstream. But let's say he was, maybe he need to add a bit more front wing or a bit more rear wing, a bit more downforce to the car he can use through those first sectors that he doesn't need on this main straight. So something to consider as well. But anyway, watch him through this corner because this is pretty good. He's so fast through here, it's almost a detriment. All right, so let's pause it there. That is as close as you can get to not picking up an off track. I'm pretty sure that's an off track. I'm not sure if that's lag on my part or something, but I reckon a millimeter off to the right, that's an off track because I've tried that and I swear this has to be lag or something. There's some BS involved here. The main thing I've learned through the turn 10 chicane is you want to turn this corner. And when I say this corner, I mean these two corners. You want to turn them into, let me try and get this done. One corner. Oh my God, that's the worst I've ever drawn in my life. But you want to turn it into one corner. So what I mean is, you don't want to brake into this first part of the chicane and then steer in, then straighten up the car, then throttle on, then turn right, then throttle on. It's too progressive. You want to treat this section heading up to here as one corner, and then this is your second corner. Oh, sorry, excuse me. This is your next part of the corner. So that's the entry up to here. This is all the entry. This part afterwards is the exit. There's one corner for you. By Max throwing the car into this corner, if you think about it, no exit involved. So you can throw the car in, carry as much entry speed as possible. 136, you can see at the bottom here. then it's full throttle. Right now, it should be full throttle all the way to turn 1. That's the best way to begin a lap. That's the best way around Road Atlanta through this chicane. So you really have to nail this section. It is so pivotal to a lap time. It's not funny. So Max is perfect through there. Just amazing. You can see. So it's essentially he's turned 2 corners into 1. One more time. Brakes. Straightens up the car. Throttle on. That's 1 corner to me. That's not 2. So I can see why now Road Atlanta calls that corner, that chicane, 10A and 10B, because I think that's the way you should approach it. It's 1 corner, not 2. So don't get deceived by that. That's the quickest way around there. Now, turn 11. Have a look in cockpit cam. Completely blind. You have no idea where you're going to go. You're over the crest. There's a few ways to approach the end of the lap here. I love the way Max is approaching this. There is no tire squeal here to end the lap. So you can take a tight line. You won't lose any speed. And there's minimal track distance. If you do this, head all the way to the outside, then turn in, you're traveling a longer distance. You're going to lose maybe 0.02 of a second doing that. So just hug the inside. It might be unrealistic, but it works. The racing line is obviously just go a little bit in between. Something along those lines, if that makes sense. To begin a lap, I would always use that outside line I was talking about so you can gain the most speed. To end the lap, I'd always use the inside. On a racing lap, go through the middle. So let's have a listen for Max to end this lap. I didn't hear the tire squeal at all. So 1:11.845, brilliant lap from one of the best drivers in the world, and has the potential to be like one of the top 3 drivers of all time in Formula One if his career goes the right way and if he can find the right car. Last few things, it was fun watching him battle all the time with Shane Van Gisbergen over here and Atze as well. But that's pretty much it. I've got a lot of work to do. I have got a lot of testing, a lot of setup work to do in this car. I have to find my talent again. It's been missing for 3.5 years. But I certainly know with setup as well, like I know I can find time with the setup, but a lot of people who think that setup in this car is going to gain you 2 seconds, like on default set, I've proven that I can get within around 1.2 seconds around that mark off Max's time. And I am nowhere near Max's talent level. I'm nowhere near Atze's talent level. So to me, the setup here is hardly even going to gain you a second, I think. It's pretty much all about driver talent, all about driver feel and confidence. Sometimes setup can give you confidence too. So that's something you need to work on at the same time. But if you have any comments, have any ideas or tips I might have missed around this circuit, feel free to comment below as well. Share them around. Hope you liked it. First sim racing analysis video since last year. I think since Spa for the WCS or World Championship Series, I think. So share it around if you liked it. Give it a like. Subscribe for more as well. There'll be plenty of these coming up soon in the future.